Welcome back, everyone, to the Q&A for the Boys Shorts 2 program of the Outshine Virtual LGBTQ Film Festival. We're about to have a lot of fun. We've got talent from almost all of the shorts you just saw, from the actors, directors, producers, and so much more. And helping me along with so much of the talent is the fabulous Jennifer Chris along with me. Jen, hi, Jen.
Hi, Mark. How are you?
I'm wonderful. Boy, we've got a lot of talent, and we've even got some Spanish speaking films, and my Spanish is pretty malo. And so we brought along Dino Mosquera to help us a little bit. Hi, Dino.
Hey, you guys, how are you?
And Dino speaks English too. Hey, we're really excited because one of the things that I think our organization does well is to make sure that we show the strength of how important it is when our community comes together. And we have wonderful community partners that do so much to make our community stronger. Tonight, we are very pleased to have as a community sponsor, World's AIDS Museum. I believe is there a trailer playing? There we
go. It's the first AIDS museum in the world.
It's a great place to come and learn about HIV/AIDS.
It's a celebration of life.
Welcome back, everybody. Okay, now here comes the challenge, Jen and Dino. We've got to introduce a lot of great talent, and you guys will forgive me if I get this wrong, and there's probably a 75-25% shot that I will. From last summer with Uncle Ira, we've got co-directors Gary Jaffe and Katie Ennis in. Thank you, guys. From Blowjob, that's the title of the movie, director Jeffrey Braverman. From I Bleed, we have director Tiago. Hold on a second. I'm going to get this right because I prepped for this question and I want to say it exactly right out of respect to these great filmmakers. Tiago Minamisawa. I hope I did that right. And Caioh Deroci. Did I get that right? I sure hope so, guys. Come on in as I call your name and turn your cameras on. Okay. From Chigualo, directors. Now, here's a lot of you guys. Christian Rojas, producer. Rosibel, Nivicela, sound director and mixer. Elizabeth Sig-tu, photography director. Christian Hidalgo, and actress Alejandro Romero and Hilda Saraguayo. Now, if I said those wrong, you guys are going to correct me. And Our Place Together, filmmaker Clay Pruitt, actors Elliot Knight and Rory O'Malley, and from Net User, director Eric Rosen, and producer James McKay. Welcome, everybody. How are you guys? This is really a lot of fun. Now, what we're going to do tonight is you all come into the room. We're just going to kind of play around and go to everybody and ask a bunch of questions. We're going to start with Our Place Together. In the pre-show, you had made a comment about finding your own special place. Clay, tell me about, or I think actually who said that was Elliot. Elliot, tell me about why finding your own special place is so important.
Oh, first of all, thank you for having us, and it's a pleasure to be at the festival. It's really, really cool. Something that I really loved about not just doing this film, but being asked by Clay to be involved in reading the script is how it felt like a story that could speak to anyone. And in a year when we are all collectively sharing a pretty challenging experience, I think a lot of people are seeing the value of being able to take stock in the things that are important in their lives, the people and relationships that are valuable, and to extract yourself from the busyness and the distractions of day-to-day life and just find a space and a place to sit and root yourself and appreciate the real core and value of what we have on this earth. And I was so not just pleased to be asked, but to see someone creating a film and a piece of art and a speech that is all about the humanity of what a person is and how it's a very concentrated, minuscule part. It's nothing to do with any of the environment or atmosphere. It's just what lies at the center of that. It's always an honor to be part of filmmaking that has that as a center. So thank you again, Clay, as I've told you 1,000 times.
Well, Elliot, let's expand on that just a little bit. I think part of what helped make that come alive is how you shot the movie. It was shot beautifully. You must have had a great cinematographer or director of photography doing that. You picked out some beautiful scenes. Talk to us about how you picked those scenes out, why they were important to the movie, all the different backdrops that you used, where you were.
I mean, I'll probably let Clay talk more about that, but yeah, the setting of where we were in Sequoia was really incredible. It allowed Rory and I a great sense of tranquility, to literally have no distractions around us and just have each other in the scenes is such a gift when you're making film, especially today when there can be so much going on around you. It was a very unique experience, and honestly, one of my favorite acting and filmmaking experiences in my career that I've ever had. I mean that genuinely for that reason. Yeah, I feel like the rest is probably Clay's domain more than mine.
Clay, I think that you were actually the one that did the introduction. In fact, I know you were the one that did the introduction. Take us through the same questions that I asked Elliot.
I mean, I can't say it any better than Elliot said it. So, and thank you, Elliot, for gushing so much over the experience and over the story. For all of you watching out there, it wasn't all easy. So, and they made it very easy, Rory and Elliot, but they're, you know, shooting anything in a remote location where there's no cell reception and it's like 100-degree heat each day is challenging. But you know, the story is personal to me, in that, in sort of not literal ways, but in more metaphoric ways. And I've always found nature to be very healing and for whatever is going on in my life. And as Elliot said, like I think it's a really important thing to have places that can just center you, especially during this challenging year that we're in. In terms of the question about the cinematography, yeah, John Chema was our cinematographer, and he's incredible. As you can see, he has done a lot of work in the commercial and music video space, and he is working on doing more narrative things, and he really was a joy to collaborate with in terms of translating the vision of the script onto screen. And it was actually his idea to shoot anamorphic, which is why you have this beautiful wide frame throughout the film. And you know, I think it really helps capture the whole setting, this place that the two main characters find themselves in.
Clay used a lot of symbolism. At least I felt throughout a lot of the scenes, the certain effects you were using, the water kind of washing away the blood. I mean, I just felt there were a lot of scenes that the landscape kind of explained what you were trying to say. Was that your intention?
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. I'm happy that carried through. It's you know, I really wanted to, I gravitate more towards, in both films that I write and also that I watch, I really like to say a lot without dialogue. And I love the films of filmmakers that can really communicate the the journey of a character through, you know, the sort of mise en scène and through unspoken moments. So yes, absolutely, especially the journey that Sean goes through, who's played by Rory, from sort of beginning to the end of the film. Definitely was, the intent was to tell that through his interaction with his surroundings.
In a minute, I'm going to let Jen in here to ask a question. Rory, let's follow up a little bit on what Clay was saying. You saw the script for this. What were your thoughts? And did you feel like you communicated everything you wanted to in this movie?
Oh, well, my initial thoughts were, this is a gay filmmaker making a story about gay people and wanting to use gay actors. So I'm gonna go camping.
That's a lot of gay. That's a lot of gay.
Yeah, it's a lot of gay. But you know, you know, it's a unique situation, you know, to, especially, you know, when I almost every audition I have or everything that comes my way is gay, is a gay character, but a lot of times it's a sassy comedic performance, and this had such vulnerability, and it was a beautiful script, and I was so excited and honored that I was asked to do it, and knew that there were going to be challenges in filming it. And I was excited to get to face those challenges with Clay and a wonderful crew and team who really took such great care of us, because I've gone camping before, but I'm from Ohio. It's not the same thing. Camping in Ohio is a little different.
We're not holding that against you.
Okay. But yeah, no, I'm so pleased with the results of the film and really honored to be a part of it.
As you should be, Jennifer.
Hi, I just unmuted myself because there was honking going on outside my door. I was noticing in the film, and this is probably more a question for Clay, it seems that one of the characters might have Huntington's disease, and I wanted to know what was the purpose of that particular disease, and was it related to the fact that it is an inherited disease, and you find, you know, I don't want to spoil the end, but obviously there's a fatherhood question. Where did it come from?
Jen, you're freezing a little. Go ahead.
I think I got the question. Yeah, thank you for asking that. So, my father is a physician. He's in fact the town doctor of the town I grew up in, and I, you know, I sort of grew up hearing about various different diseases and learning about different things, and then sort of in my own personal life, my mother passed away from cancer, and then my father is actually in treatment right now for his own cancer diagnosis. So I wanted to explore this idea of kind of genetic baggage and what that means for wanting to have a family, and if you know, whether that's biological or not. But there's sort of, I needed more of a ticking clock and more of an actual diagnosis of something that was absolutely terminal and a really brutal journey. And having grown up and learned about Huntington's and met several of my father's patients who had Huntington's, it seemed like the right vehicle to get the story where it needed to go, and also an opportunity to bring up some awareness for the disease. I don't think a lot of people are very aware of it, and yeah, it's that was sort of the impetus for including it there. And you're right in the sense that there's a lot more deep sort of backstory there in terms of Huntington's being a genetic inherited disease and what that means for any sort of future children, and there's like a whole other story to explore there that obviously we couldn't go fully into depth in a short film. So.
All right, that's really that's fascinating. Let me ask Elliot and Rory a question, and I want each of you to answer. Rory, Elliot, what did you give each other in acting that made you a better actor?
Go on, Rory.
Performance in the movie. What was it that you gave each other that made you more powerful as actors in this film?
Well, I'll go first because it was just very clear for me that Elliot is just an extraordinary actor who was going to give me so much of himself to be vulnerable to go to a place that I've never gone to on camera. I've never had any kind of emotional scene like that on camera. And I felt like I was just going to sit back and watch him go there. And that was basically my invitation to go there too. And he's just such a gifted actor that it inspired me to let down any kind of guard I had in the middle of nowhere and to literally hold each other's hands, hold each other, and be vulnerable, which is about as great of a gift as an actor can give to another one.
Elliot?
Thank you. That's really nice. I mean, all the same, and what I was aware of the whole time we filmed was how I really felt like Rory gave me his trust. This is a great question, by the way. Thank you for asking this. I really felt like Rory gave me his trust. And I know that when I read the script initially from Clay, I was a little bit younger than the character was written. And it's always important to me that someone can have at least the perspective of experience that's necessary to do a character and a story justice. And so that was my focus. And I really felt like Rory trusted me and allowed me to feel confident enough to do that, to really embody the intention of the script. And of course is so talented and a complete delight, and to feel comfortable and accepted. And we're all existing in a queer space here, and we understand what that means. To feel at home in your environment and your family, whether it's blood family, friend, chosen family, on a set family, to feel like you're a part of it and accepted as you are is an incredible gift and unlocks all of the doors. And so I'm grateful to Rory and Clay for that. And also, if I can quickly, just to expand on what Rory said before, I have to thank Clay again for intentionally and deliberately and purposefully creating a space for a queer person of color to exist in this main queer space, because there isn't always room given for that. And to be able to be a human on a screen in a story without having to be a part of the narrative of the color of my skin, like I'm sure a lot of other people feel, is a rare opportunity, a very necessary and a very special one. And it was great to really, from beginning to end and beyond, just feel like a human like everyone else that has a valuable emotional story and experience to tell that's worth watching without needing to be bolstered up by a racial narrative. As important as those stories are too, I think we have to accept and understand more to make efforts that there is a wholeness that exists, whatever your identity and culture and racial identity is. And that's what's so great about this festival where we are now. This is all about identity and acceptance and humanity. And it is one of many examples here where I feel like that's really triumphed. So again, thank you to Clay and to Rory for giving me that gift. It's really, I'll carry it with me, and it really meant a lot.
Wow, what a high road. So I'm going to take the low road. And as far as, the whole gay world, and as far as giving, let's go to blowjob. And by blowjob, guys, I mean the movie Blowjob. And let's welcome into the room, Jeffrey Braverman. Come on in, Jeffrey.
Thank you. That is the low road. I appreciate it.
Well, it's the name of the movie. It's called Blowjob, and it's a wonderful animated short dealing with HIV. You had great artistry. Why did you choose this subject? Why was it so important to you?
This was not dealing with HIV, so I don't know if that was a wrong blurb in there, but it was
very
just,
well could have been the wrong one, but go ahead anyway.
it was an animation. It's part of a series I've been doing, these micro shorts. So I've just been having fun. My background is in still photography. I'm
Still
photojournalist. Yeah. So this was just using stills to animate different sequences and playing with the idea of sensuality and humor and aging. We often see a lot of youthful young bodies, but I try to bring in sort of a range of demographic and ages into my productions.
Yeah, you did that pretty successfully, I might add. Jen, Dino, did you happen to see Blowjob?
I did. I don't know if you saw it, Mark.
I sure did. I evidently.
But I saw it.
I did.
And congratulations, by the way, Jeffrey, on your film. I thought it was very interesting. Obviously they're blowing up the balloon and they're passing it back and forth. If this jogs your brain on this one, Mark.
It's hard. You could blink and miss it. It's under 30 seconds. So it's a very quick animation. So
I actually watched it. I actually watched it 4 times because I was like, wait, when's the blowjob? So but I think it's fantastic. And now you've done all sorts of media, but I mean, you've shot for Esquire, you shot for so many different, very, very important magazines and periodicals. How did you decide that you wanted to spend more time in film?
Well, I've been interested in more story and narrative, and I felt with stills I was getting a little bit stifled. So when video became more accessible and affordable, I just gravitated naturally to it. So I made a film a couple years ago called David in Brief, a short film. That's more of a documentary about Michelangelo's David and what that symbol represents to LGBT community. So I've always intertwined photography and video for the past few years. I work as a producer right now and director for commercially, but I still have my roots in still photography. So that's something I just keep, I never get bored of. Yeah.
Of doing it. But Jeffrey, sorry I blew it.
No, and the blowjob comes from the blowing up of actual beach ball. So that's all it is. It's 2 guys meet and they pass, this one opens up his lunch bag and it seems like a business lunch, and they just have this beach ball and they pass it back and forth, and that's the blowjob. So it's just a play off words is all. It's not a real blowjob, not to disappoint everybody.
Oh, we knew that. We knew that. That part.
Mark would have remembered.
Yeah, that's right.
And you would have remembered the film and not confused it with the next film. Which
no worries. Thank you for having me in the festival. It's a real treat to be part of this.
Thank you, Dino.
Why was it 40 seconds? I wonder, Jeffrey. I mean, it's a beautiful short. The guys are super hot. So kudos for the casting. But why was it 40 seconds? I wanted to see more.
That's as much as I got from them. No, it just felt that was the right amount. I mean, we were playing with a slower pace. There was nothing. It was a very linear production, so it was just passing the ball back and forth got to be a little bit boring. And I wanted these quick. I just like the idea of really fast moving, a little bit like old black and white films, so it started that way, a little stop motion-y. And then as the ball starts to blow up, the scenery turns into full color. The guys are Argentinian, Cuban. One's actually from Miami. So he's Cuban, Cuban American from Miami, and the other one's from Argentina. So there you go. They are very good looking guys.
Another Cubans from Miami, Dino. Go figure that one out.
There you go. Good casting.
It fit well into your festival for that reason.
It definitely.
And I also like that there's no dialogue. It's just the sound of birds and water, and just kind of stripped it down to the elements.
All right, we're going to go to the film I Bleed with and I'm going to just go to my notes with actors and with the director, Tiago Minamisawa. Did I say that right?
Minamisawa.
Do it one more time. You say it.
Minamisawa.
Minamisawa, perfectly.
That's
And Caioh
perfect.
Deroci. Hi, guys. How are you?
Fine, thank you. Thank you so much for the invitation.
Thank you so much for giving us your film. It was really an enjoyable movie. How did it come to be? What was the whole premise of starting the concept and starting the project?
Well, I believe it's a very personal film that it's a story that both of us share. When Caioh discovers that he was living with HIV, and for us at the beginning was like really surprising news, and we didn't know how to deal with that. And once at one time I was like talking to Caioh, and he told me that even once the medication could like make the virus became unknown in the organism, the prejudice that people were going to have about the subject, to talking about the subject, if he has to share with somebody, still make him feel really afraid. And so when he told me that, I was saying, well, no, it's not going to be like that. You're not going to have to hide yourself in the closet. I'm going to make a movie that you will be able to talk about this to everybody in the world, and we will try to change a little bit of the people's mind about the subject. And that is how the film started.
Why did you choose to do it the way that you did, with so many mediums at hand?
Actually, I'm a filmmaker that works only with animation technique. I'm not an animator, but I'm like a director that only uses animation as a way of illustrating the stories. So at the beginning, I've already known that was going to be animation. But when we started with the script, we have this idea about the painting from Bosch that it's called the Garden of the Delight Desires. And that picture that painting was so amazing, and it has so many stars inside of it. And that is when we decided to illustrate the script with these images that were very powerful.
Yeah, and it's funny. Before, I think what happened is the other one was so short that I looked away, and boom, your short started up right afterward, and I really did enjoy it. Let's go to you. Let's ask a question of Caioh. How was it? Number one, working with Tiago, and did he deliver on the message the way you thought he would?
I'm going to translate to him because he doesn't speak English so well.
Dino can help.
Ele perguntou como foi trabalhar comigo e se eu consegui ilustrar a sua história bem, assim.
Acho que como namorados a gente tem uma química e uma conversa bem aberta, então nesse sentido foi bem tranquilo, porque fazendo por parte.
Well, we are boyfriends, so that helps a lot because we have a very open discussion between each other.
E que mais ele perguntou?
E se você achou que o filme ilustrou bem? Né?
Acho que ilustrou bem, porque durante todo o processo a gente foi conversando sobre como aquilo estava sendo retratado e se eu me via naquele filme, apesar de ser uma ficção não totalmente documentária, mas ser um pouco da minha vida também. A gente sempre conversava sobre como o filme estava se encaminhando e se aquilo retratava realmente aquilo que eu estava sentindo e pensando, passando. E a gente foi fazendo os ajustes para que aquilo fosse uma história que realmente representasse.
Well, we were living the process of discovering the virus and the treatment and everything once we were doing the film. And so it was a process that we were very close. And every time that I have like a version of the script, I show to Caioh and I ask him, do you think this is like something that you identified with? And he always gave me the feedback, and it was really a process that he collaborated, because even so, even if it's it is a fiction, but with like a documentary side of it, because he's doing the voice, he's telling his story. A lot of the phrases that we use in the film was phrases that he told me. And so at the end, he feels like he was really representing his own story there, his personal experience with the HIV.
Well, I know Jen and Dino are big fans of animation.
Yeah.
Dino's a big member in the community that really is involved in organizations that contribute to helping people with HIV. Dino, what did you think of the film, and what questions do you have?
Yeah, parabéns para você, Tiago, Caioh. Muito bom. I wanted to well, commend you, because not only you deal with HIV, but you do it in animation. Is that, we don't see that commonly coming out of Brazil. We don't see a lot of animated films coming out of Brazil. So how do you, was that difficult for you to make an animated film in Brazil? And also, as a second part, was the snake, what was the meaning of the snake? Was that the HIV? Was that the virus? Was that it? Or what was the snake?
Well, the first part of the question, yeah, actually, Brazil is really strong in animation. Maybe the animation that we produce in Brazil doesn't usually talk about the LGBT subjects. That is why maybe it didn't get films with this thematic in festivals or anything. But like, we already have animation film nominee for Oscar, like 5 years ago, and the industry of animation here is really strong. So it was not difficult for me to produce the film. It was like, we have many professionals, and in the case of I Bleed, it's just one animator that did all the animations in the film, all the drawings and everything. So it was a very author animator who did it. So it was a very collaborative work. And the second part of the answer, about the snake, it's funny that everybody always asks about the snake. It's like something that is really common for us to answer this question. Usually I like to say that the snake is something that the expector just interpret it as they want to. You know, it's something that I like to keep it open to everybody give his meaning. You know, the meaning that they think the snake represents. But like, my intention was to, like, the surprise, the fear of death, the fear of the notice, the moment that you receive the notice that you're living with HIV, all this explosion of emotions in your head and thoughts and everything. And for me, it was really important to make a scene that causes impact. The public cannot watch the scene without any reaction. You know, it's something that like immediately causes something to them, and it was really important for me, the snake, to do that.
Well, you know, animation is never easy, and I think especially animation in a short film with serious content is never easy. And you guys did a great job getting your message delivered in a very short amount of time. So thank you. We're going to come back to you guys. Don't worry. We'll be back. Let's go to the folks from Our Place Together, filmmakers Clay Pruitt and actors Elliot Knight and Rory O'Malley. Guys, welcome in.
Hey, I think we already had our time.
Huh?
I think we already had our time. If you want to go to a different film.
Oh my goodness, you did have your time. But we'll go back to, we can go back just to ask you another quick question. When you, in directing this movie and working with the talent, were they able to deliver everything that you wanted?
Oh, I mean, and more. I was very lucky in that Rory and Elliot were both my first choices for the roles, and I had never met them before, but I'd been very familiar with their work, and I I just sort of reached out to them through their agents, and luckily their agents passed on the script. They passed on the begging letter that I sent along with it. No, it was just kind of my request for them to be in the roles, and they both read the script and got back to me very quickly, and I met with both of them in person, and they jumped on board. And while on set, I mean, like I kind of alluded to before, there were some hard conditions going on shooting where we shot. So I was just incredibly appreciative of their patience and their their willingness to jump in when we were ready and sort of racing against the clock, and be as professional and as vulnerable as they were.
Well, talking about vulnerable, we're going to the next movie, Chigualo, and I'm going to introduce all the filmmakers. And Dino, you're going to help me with this because I loved that short. I really did. We have directors, screenwriters, and screenwriter Christian Rojas, producer Rosibel, Nivicela, sound editor and mixer Elizabeth Sig-tu, photography director Christian Hidalgo, and actors Alejandro, Romero, and Hilda Saraguayo. Welcome everyone. Come on in the room and turn your cameras on, please. Aprender su cámara.
Aquí estamos. Hi. Hi everybody. I thank you for the invitation. I'm Christian Rojas. I'm director and screenwriter from Chigualo, from Ecuador. I speak to the Spanish. My English is so bad. Sorry.
You're doing great.
Okay. Muchas gracias. Y para mí es para nosotros nos llena mucho de mucha alegría poder estar en este espacio y poder que la película se pueda visualizar por todo el mundo, ¿no? Y estamos muy contentos de estar en el Ocean, así sea de manera virtual, nos parece una experiencia maravillosa.
Sí, él está diciendo que ellos están muy, sorry, they are saying, I'm just saying that it gets confusing. That he's saying that they're very happy to be in the Outshine Film Festival and that their film gets to be seen around the world, and they're very glad to the invitation, and he apologizes for his English, but he's doing very well. So continue.
So let's talk about your movie. For me personally, a movie about a trans child is the most heartwarming and yet difficult thing to watch. And it's something that my daughter was here, and we were actually sitting in the living room talking when your movie was on. And I was explaining to her how these kids know at a young age. Now, in Miami, we have a very famous basketball player with a very famous wife, played in Gabrielle.
Give me a second, Mark, so that I can translate it, because so él está diciendo que le gusta mucho que el film haya sido, el tema del film haya sido particularmente el hecho de que es un niño transgénero. Particularmente porque actualmente aquí en Miami hay un jugador de básquetbol que quizás ustedes hayan escuchado de él, que se llama Dwayne Wade, que tiene un hijo que casualmente está en la misma situación que el personaje de Alejandro en la película. Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, Gabrielle Union is his wife, and she's a famous actress. You can maybe you said that, you know. You did, you covered. And so when I see a young actor, and here's this young actor not only in a big city, but in a very remote Latin town. How hard was it and challenging was it to make that movie? And how important was it for you to show that being trans is something that um, uh, transfers to everywhere, every single spot on this planet?
Um, Particularmente lo que nos gusta es que hiciste una historia acerca de este tema que no solamente está basado en una ciudad en una ciudad grande, sino que también es particularmente relevante porque es en la provincia, en el interior del país. ¿Cómo llegaste cómo fue esto que llegaste a esta situación de que el personaje vive en un pueblo tan pequeño como el de como Chigualo?
Bueno, el primero, Chigualo nace desde una investigación desde más o menos alrededor de unos 5 años que llevo haciendo sobre el tercer género dentro de las comunidades indígenas, costeras y andinas del Ecuador y de Sudamérica, ¿no?
Okay, so the initiative is started with research that he's done of the theme of the third gender or the transgender in this, the third gender, he said it in Spanish, and he's been doing this for the last 3 years, is my understanding, and that's how the idea started to make the short. Continúa, por favor.
El personaje existe en la vida real. Me lo topé en esta fiesta que es real, la fiesta del Chigualo, de ahí proviene el nombre, que celebra, como en la película, la muerte de Jesús, y en ese momento la gente puede hacer ciertas cosas, no puede matar nada, pero todos pueden como develarse todo lo que tienen guardado, todo lo que puede ser pecaminoso.
Okay, so he's saying that the character is a real character. It comes from a real story that he met at this is like a provincial parties at this town where they celebrate the death of Jesus, or in that celebration, and where they can, por favor, repite lo que dijiste que era, qué es lo que celebran en la fiesta.
Es la muerte de Jesús, y de ahí viene la resurrección, que es hacia las 3 de la mañana.
Okay, so not only they're waiting for the resurrection of Christ. So in that party, and they get to do all the activities that you see in the party with the family particularly. Continúa.
Entonces, este personaje llegó a mí en una de estas fiestas y me comentó su proceso, ¿no? Él no se había liberado igual, de hecho estaba vestido como hombre, pero vivía en una ciudad grande como es Guayaquil, y en la ciudad pues sí era ella mismo, ¿no? Entonces de ahí empezó a nacer.
Okay, the main character in the movie lived in that. He had a dual life, so he was living his life as a female in Guayaquil, the city, but in this little town he had to be dressing as a man. He couldn't be dressing as a woman, but you met him at that time. Okay.
¿De país?
In Ecuador. Guayaquil, Ecuador. It's in the province in Ecuador. It's far from Guayaquil. ¿Qué tan lejos queda Chigualo de Guayaquil?
No, Chigualo es el nombre de la fiesta. El pueblo se desarrolla en Manabí, que está a unas 4 horas de Guayaquil.
Okay, so Manabí is the town where this takes place. Chigualo is the name of the celebration. The town is 4 hours away from Guayaquil.
Wow. Rosibel, when Christian came to you with this film, what did you think reading this? This is not a film that you get presented with every day. Why did you choose to produce this film?
Rosibel, ¿entendiste la pregunta?
Hello to everyone.
You're
Yeah, I put English. I think so. Or sorry, I have a problem with my connection. Okay. Yeah, this is the thing. You know, it's crazy sometimes, but I think that you have to make really movies, or I think that you need to make films that really represent you or that really moves to you. So when Christian presented me this film, this lecture, I was in love of the character. I was really motivated to produce it. I really involved in the story of Manu, or
Manuel.
principal character Manuel. Yeah. So Chigualo, it came like a short, like a university. Sorry, I have to,
We can hear you.
okay. Yeah, you can hear me. Sorry, I think the thing is that I'm in the beach now. I am Manabi, actually, producing a work, so I have a really bad connection.
We hear you fine.
good.
Escuchamos bien.
Okay. So it was a hard decision, but I really was in love of the story that Christian presented me.
Wow, beautiful.
I have a question. I have a question for you guys. How do you find filming this story in Ecuador, especially in the province? Was that a difficult with the conservative values in the town? Is that something that was difficult for you to come to terms? I mean, to film in that part of Ecuador.
It was very hard for me since the production, just not finding the actor, finding the place where they will accept, you know, I mean, for example, the locations in Ecuador, when you produce, you don't have a lot of money. So it's very challenging to accept, to collaborate, people could collaborate to you. Mm-hmm. So it was very challenging to them to explain the importance of telling this story. Because
sure.
people, have really huge issues about homosexual things.
Right.
Imagine if you touch about religion and if you are talking about kids, and it's
exactly
very hard to make sense.
With the situation, I mean, particularly found fascinating that in the case of Manu, the mother was the one that was very hostile to his coming out. The father was accepting, I mean, in a way, and the grandmother was too, but the mother was so against the situation, which is, I don't know if it's unusual, but I would have thought a mother, a Latin mother, was very supportive of her child. But the father was here, the one that was letting him be, but not the mother. The mother was very against it.
Esto sucede, ¿por qué había esa relación? Es porque siempre mi cine, y tomando la pregunta anterior que le hacías a Rosibel sobre lo difícil de hacer cine en Ecuador, sobre todo una película como esta, que también es como el ensayo para lo que va a ser el largometraje.
Okay. Déjame traducir esto por un segundo. So he's saying that he used this as an essay, as a practice, because he's planning to produce a long feature based on this story. Okay, continúa, por favor.
Entonces, yo siempre trato de trabajar no un tema desde claro, podemos entender que la parte paterna puede no aceptar y la materna sí, pero en este caso la materna tiene este conflicto sobre la naturaleza, sobre tú naciste hombre y ahora cuando ya estás a los 12 años, 10 años, tengo que enseñarte ahora cómo tienes que ser mujer. Entonces, no es un conflicto de quién es, sino un conflicto de naturaleza, de que ahora tiene que aprender, enseñar a esa naturaleza.
Okay, so he's saying that, and regarding my previous question about the antagonism from the mother, is that the nature of the mother realizing that at that age, at 12, 13 years old, she now have to realize how to raise a girl, and she didn't know how, and that's why that hostility that you see in the film.
Interesting. Let's bring in Alejandro. Alejandro, brilliant performance.
Muy buen personaje. Alejandro, abre la cámara, por favor.
Yeah, I have a question for Alejandro specifically. Alejandro, you did such an incredible job with this role. You captured the look, you captured the feeling and the emotion. And I wanted to know, I apologize for not knowing this, but what other acting jobs have you done? I'm sure you have an amazing future. And what drew you to do this role?
Alejandro, ella te está felicitando por tu actuación, le pareció muy relevante cómo capturaste la visión del personaje, y ella también pregunta cuál ha sido tu experiencia previa en actuación para que te llevó a este cortometraje.
Mi experiencia fue en mi colegio actuando de muchas cosas, o sea,
¿Qué edad
solo un
tienes?
tema en general.
¿Qué edad tienes?
14.
Okay, so he's 14 years old, and he's saying that his previous acting experience was at his high school, his school. So, continúa, por favor. Tu primera este es tu primer cortometraje, esta es tu primera vez que actúas en una película
Sí, esa es mi primera vez.
This is his first acting in film. So his previous experience was acting in his high school. So okay.
Alejandro, this is not especially for a first film. Being when you live in a country where people aren't always accepting, were you challenged at all when you read this script to say, wow, this is not an easy role to play. Am I ready for this?
Yeah, Alejandro, él te está preguntando si cuando leíste el libreto de la película, puesto que trata de estos asuntos que son un poco fuertes, ¿cómo te sentiste al leer el libreto y si tuviste apoyo de tus padres o qué sentiste cuando leíste el libreto por primera vez?
Primero yo lo leí y vi que tenía que actuar de mujer. Yo le dije a mi mami que sí, yo quería actuar de eso porque, o sea, no importa es un papel nada más, no es nada de la vida real.
Claro. Déjame traducir un momentico. Él está diciendo que, sorry, he's saying that when he read the script, he talked to his mom, and they took it as a role, just as a character he was going to perform, and it wasn't as hard as we think it would be. So, ¿y qué más?
As a follow-up to that question, there's a lot of different styles of acting. And in your case, a lot of what you had to communicate wasn't through words, it was through emotions. Was that a challenge for you? And how do you feel about that?
Sí, Alejandro, él está diciendo que mucha de la actuación que tú que nos muestras es basado no solamente en palabras, sino más bien en gestos, en actuación sin discurso, sin vocabulario. ¿Cómo te sentiste con esto en la película cuando tuviste que filmarla?
Primero me sentí muy nervioso al principio, en la primera grabación, y después ya fui acostumbrándome, me sentí raro con vestido y eso, pero...
Yeah, he's saying that he at first he felt a little nervous because particularly because he had to wear a dress, but then he got more comfortable as the filming went on. So,
okay, Jennifer.
Yes.
Do you have any questions for these guys? I know you love the movie. We talked about it before.
I adored it. I adored the movie. I was just so taken with it being a film about, I'm not Catholic, so for it to have this sense of, you know, Jesus with the eyes shut, in this sense that if the eyes are opened accidentally, the boy, you know, gets the courage to move forward. So I guess it's more of a compliment to the writer, as they created a story in a brave time and told it very, very well.
Yeah. Also, I actually want to echo what Jennifer's saying, because I mean, coming from Latin America, not only the gay issue and this particular situation in a young person coming to known, but also the mixing it with the religious background is so very Latin American. Is a very topical issue there. So I think it's fantastic what you did, Christopher. We really like it. No sé si te acabo de decir, pero me imagino que lo entenderán. Si quieren se lo traduzco, pero lo que estaba diciendo Jennifer y lo que estoy diciendo yo es que nos gusta mucho que el film es como una intersección entre el hecho de que es una historia de un niño que está saliendo que está haciendo lo que quiere y con transgénero, pero basada en Latinoamérica y con el background el aspecto religioso de la religión católica.
Sí, es para acotar, y gracias por las palabras de Jennifer. Thank you for Jennifer. Acá en Latinoamérica, siempre desde que naces, y me pasó desde los 8 años, me guardaba por el tema de la religión, de decirme justamente que no debe ser así, porque Dios te castiga, Dios está ahí, cuando realmente vas descubriendo que realmente el Dios, que el castigador y que no te permite ser quien eres, realmente es alguien de amor. Entonces, sí, para mí era importante mencionar en esto, por mí y por mi representación hacia la libertad de quién soy, de decir esta frase icónica que lo dice Manu, que es Dios me miró y no me castigó.
Yeah, so he's saying that in response to what Jennifer and I were saying about the religious background, that this is something that he took very much at heart with the film, because he wanted to show that there is there is that sense in Latin America that you can express this. And early on when he was growing up, he felt that rejection, but then with the film he wanted to make sure that that was part of the lesson, and particularly with that that phrase that Manu said at the end of the film, that says God watched me and it didn't punish me. So he wanted to express.
That was I think that movie was those words were such big words. I promise you, guys, net user, last summer with Uncle Ira, we're coming right to you. I just want to make sure that I get everybody in. So I want to ask Hilda a quick question. Hilda, where are you? There you are. So one, when you read the script and you read about your character, what did you think? And how did you and Alejandro work together? How was it working together?
Hilda, cuando leíste el libreto el guión de la película, ¿cómo te sentiste y particularmente cómo fue Alejandro en la película? ¿Hilda está en el foro o no? ¿Hilda?
No se conectó.
She's not connected, Mark.
So she's not in there. Okay, so thank you guys. We're going to come back in just a little bit. Let's get to Last Summer with Uncle Ira. Co-directors Gary Jaffe and Katie Ennis. thank you guys so much. I really enjoyed your movie a lot. And I loved how you shot it. I loved how you kind of developed the plot between the boy and the uncle. And in the beginning, you're thinking, well, I guess you don't know what to think, but you certainly don't think there's a real relationship or any real respect there. And I'm sure you set it up that way. And then the movie just continues to warm your heart as it goes on. Why did you build it that way?
Well, first of all, on behalf of Katie, I have to say Katie had to excuse herself, but she was really glad to be here, and I'm glad to be here at Outshine too. So to answer your question, it's helpful, I think, to know what the source of this story is, which is that the story is a love letter to my Uncle Barry, who died of AIDS in 1991 when I was 3. So I never got to know my uncle, and he's floated over my head my whole life. Weirdly, even with the way that our names rhyme, Gary, Barry. Sometimes would say like, "Oh, Barry," talking to me, and I'm like, that's not my name. So I always wondered, what would that relationship be like? And what this short film does is it allows a kid like me to be 16 in the summer of 1991 and to have a conversation with my uncle that I never got to have. But you've pointed out how it's icy at the start. And that's because, I have complicated feelings about this man. I've been afraid of, becoming him, and I've wanted so badly to know him. And I wanted to capture that ambiguity, especially for this kid who at 16 knows who he is, but isn't quite ready to talk about it. So that's why we want to start with a nice icy feeling and then slowly and subtly let it thaw until finally there's this big moment where instead of actually communicating about it, it's a gesture. It's this reverential gesture that the kid does for his uncle, knowing that he's going to be gone soon.
What I really loved in the movie, at least was the intense way and the juxtaposition, I might say, in how you set up the uncle, because the uncle is a very, well, shall we say, I don't know if feminate's the right word. He has AIDS, as in case some of you that didn't see that particular short, and he's dying of AIDS, actually, it's pretty apparent. And he's not the most masculine guy. And yet here he is, interesting choice of words, top guy that you used for the characterization. But here he was at his camp, the top guy, like the Mr. Macho, Mr. Athlete, Mr. Everything. And in his older gay age, no one would have ever thought those two people would be the same person. Take us through that.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, since you brought up the summer camp angle, the summer camp is the suspense plot device. Basically, the kid is about to go to summer camp, and it's 8 weeks. And when he comes back, his uncle is probably going to be dead. So this conversation has to happen now, or it's not going to happen. But as you point out, Uncle Ira was an all-star when he went to the same summer camp, in the Catskills.
The top guy.
The top boy, right? I'll come to that. And this kid, in some ways, very much looks up to his uncle because of that reputation. But that's all they can really talk about while they're not talking about the fact that both of them are gay. But as far as your question about an effeminate, quote unquote, man later in life who had a reputation for being an athlete once upon a time, I'm always interested in subverting tropes. And, it's possible that Uncle Ira, when he was young and probably before he came out, was a little bit of a butch guy, or maybe not. And then maybe when he came out and moved to the West Village and began to live his life, he was allowed to share more authentically who he is. And what I like about Uncle Ira, and especially as Wayne Wilcox performs him, is he's just very authentically himself. In some ways that puts Daniel on edge, because Daniel's not ready to be himself yet.
Wait, gay people in the West Village?
Huh?
There's gay people in the West Village?
I know, and they're still there. They haven't been totally kicked out by the yuppies yet. Isn't that crazy?
Jennifer?
I thought that the actors were fantastic. And I was curious, Gary, what was your casting process?
Yeah, so with each, it was somewhat different. For Stephanie, Tony winner Stephanie J. Block, who plays a character based on my mother, literally wearing my mom's Torch Song Trilogy shirt. That's mom's. She sent it up for her to wear. We reached out to her directly. We got her contact and asked, and she said yes. So that was amazing. With Wayne, we worked with a casting director who cultivated a list for us, and we went through the list. And you know, when we asked Wayne, he said he'd be happy to do it. With Igby Rigney, who plays the kid Daniel, remember that name? He's going places. We did a casting call, and you know, first self-taped and then in person. And when Igby was with us in person, the whole movie like took shape in front of us. Like this kid, and Igby's 19, so he's not like a kid, but he just brought so much depth, and the camera loved him, and there was so much behind his eyes. And Daniel's a quiet, you can see it in that shot. Look at him, look at those eyes. And Daniel's a quiet character. And so the camera needs to see that there's a world underneath, you know, and internally. And Igby just really got that. So that was the cast.
Yeah, he's kind of insecure almost from the beginning. And I like the way you filmed kind of that opening sequence where he walks to the edge, then you show the depth of the edge, and you don't really know what's going to do. Is he going to jump off the cliff? And then everything kind of just goes from there. You start meeting this young boy that's really not in any trouble emotionally, just kind of unsure of himself, and next to an uncle that was very sure of himself. So I really appreciate how you did that juxtaposition. When you see, how did the two of them work together in the scenes? Were they off each other great? I thought so.
We had fairly limited time to shoot because we were daylight dependent. So to just see them like riff off each other and really listen and lean in on what the other was giving was really lovely. Since you brought up the seawall shot, there's a funny tidbit about that is that where we filmed, the tides go in and out. So in order to get that shot, the low angle shot of Igby looking over the edge of the seawall into the water, we had to wait. That was the last shot that we did because we had to wait for the tides to go out so that we could get the camera down there to like, you know, do the up. And then earlier in the day, when we have the shots of the water out, and whether it's him looking down at it or him in it, we had to, you know, we literally had to look at the tide schedule and plan our shoot around it, which was pretty funny.
It was awesome. Dino?
Yes, I wanted to ask you, Gary, what is that, the letter that his mom put in his suitcase? What was that? What is in there?
Yeah, so this, like the B plot of the short is that at the very beginning, Uncle Ira is writing a letter and he hands it to Stephanie when Stephanie brings out his pills. And in the middle of the movie, we see Stephanie reading the letter, and then at the final moment, she puts it in the trunk. So it's a couple things. One, it's the idea that even if these two don't get to talk now, the message will be handed on. And that's the thing, is like, I didn't know my Uncle Barry, and I didn't know so many of the men of the generation before me who fought death and won or lost, as the case might be. And I want to know them. I want to carry the message forward. So there's something very powerful about a physical message being handed. The other aspect is when Ira is carefully trying to tell Daniel that if he needs to talk about anything, he can tell him. He says, you can write it down, even lick it and stamp it and send it. Because, you know, he's going to summer camp, that's what you do. So there's this sort of subtle, I guess, a metaphor of like messages going both ways between the generations, perhaps beyond the veil of death and life. So.
But he says do it soon. So I'm guessing that was his last summer. Is that the implication that he was, because you show that he had Kaposi sarcoma. So was that real? Did your uncle have that? And was he close to his death at that point when this is his last summer? Is that it?
Yep. And what the way that my mom tells it, again, I was 3, so I don't really know, that my uncle was basically seemed perfectly healthy until 2 months before he died. And then he was gone. And that was partially because his lesions were internal and ate up his organs. So, you know, we don't want to do trauma porn. We didn't want to like really make this man look so emaciated like other AIDS victims were, even though that was true, because there were men who died who didn't look that way. And so therefore we were careful in making sure that it was clear that, I mean, he's got the sarcoma here, the lesions here, but it wasn't going to be like, you know,
right.
Yeah, we wanted to play it down a little bit.
Well, you hit just the right amount. All right, let's get to the movie Netgear. I promise you guys, you are anything but least.
Net user, Mark.
Net user, Netgear. I'm in the tech business and I'm dealing with a company called Netgear. And you are right. It is Net user. Director Eric Rosen, producer James McKay, co-stars Clay Elder. You're all in the room. Come on, turn your cameras on. And again, I apologize because I promise you, we did not make you last intentionally. Somebody had to be last. That's just how these things work. And you guys drew the short straw on that. Wow, I really enjoyed your film. It was, I mean, the complexities of the film. Okay, yeah, on the surface, we know what it was about, but the surface is the least important element, I think, of the whole film. It's what was going on underneath. And I couldn't make a parallel at one time to the Black Lives Matters movement and how what he was going through as a gay man, feeling so diminished, feeling so worthless, worthless might not be the right word, but maybe misunderstood, that his life didn't matter, that if something happened to a gay president, big deal, he's just gay. And I couldn't help but making these kind of drawing a quasi relationship to Black Lives Matter. Did you catch that at all? And I know your film was probably before the movement, but the association can't be denied.
Well, thanks, Mark, and thanks for having us. And I'm so wishing that we were all together in Florida seeing all these amazing filmmakers. It's really an honor to be a part of this.
So do we.
I mean, I started writing the film a year and a half ago, before Black Lives Matter had exploded in the events of this spring and summer. So it's not something that I could have thought about, but I also have been haunted in having made the film with my producer, James, how much history has kind of been running alongside of something we made. We started filming a year ago right now, and the way history has kept up with us has been kind of eerie. I think that we were trying to tap into a lot of the anxiety that I think was brewing before COVID, before the world kind of blew up, about how people on the left were feeling so frustrated and enraged and powerless. And that's what I was most concerned with, was what we would do on the far left and the central left in moments where we've completely lost our voice. So certainly Black Lives Matter is the most prominent and important manifestation of that energy.
Why did you guys pick such a high bar as a presidential candidate?
Well, I actually had a dream that Buttigieg was assassinated like February of 19. And I woke up totally freaked out. There's Dennis. And I wrote the idea for the film. James McKay and I had been talking about making something, and I'm a theater director and a producer and a playwright. So it was my first attempt to write in the film mode. And it just kind of took over, and we immediately decided this is the story we wanted to tell. And it, you know, in a way it kind of inhabited us as our passion and our surprise.
And you decided within that same story to incorporate a healthy gay family, making sure that, you know, the story of your life.
That's my husband, Clay Elder, co-star Claiborne Elder, and that little boy is our son, Bo, and we used what we had.
Okay, well, and the price was right? Jen?
Well, Clay, congratulations on a very good portrayal. And I love now knowing that it's your son. And I remember the first moment I saw you pick him up, and I saw, like, he's a little bit redheaded and you have freckles on your shoulders, and it just really felt like, wow, that's great casting. now I understand, but
we liked him so much we kept him. No.
It's fabulous. But I love how you play off of Dennis
Thanks
O'Hare. the great Dennis O'Hare. And I'm very interested to hear how Dennis O'Hare got involved with the project.
Well, you know, Eric and Dennis had worked together at the Sundance Institute for Theater years ago. And so we were all kind of friendly with one another. And Eric had written this script, and David came over for brunch one day, and we were all talking about it. And David was really, Dennis was really interested. And and Eric said, Dennis, who's someone like you who could play this part? And Dennis was like, me, I want to play this part. And so without even reading the script at first, he said, you know, let me read it and see. And after just hearing the idea of the story, and then he read it and got back to Eric right away and just said, yeah, I have to do this. So.
And from the very beginning, did what changed? Because I have a feeling this was a script that kind of evolved even during the filmmaking of it, because I just saw some elements of it that I had to think that, wow, wouldn't this, especially when you bring in social media, did things evolve as you were filming?
I mean, the shoot was last September, and the edit was got started in October, November, and I think that James and Julie Tarab, who is the really extraordinary editor, and I spent a lot of time trying to figure out how to move from my script, which was the original script was 60 pages long. The shooting script was 15. I think the edited script is 10. So we're really trying to condense down to what was essential, that the ways in post to show how social media was influencing and how to show that visually. That was James and Julie really using a lot of genius to figure out what all the stuff we didn't shoot to make that clear. I think the what's been surprising as we've been going on is how much social media and foreign interference, we didn't know at the time that it was going to become so central to our conversations about our current election cycle. In a way, in 2018, 2019, that was a 3-year-old idea from 2016. We didn't know how much it was going to become part of our landscape. So that was that part was a bit of an accident.
Good timing.
Yeah, it shows you how much
or bad timing.
No, but look at all these things with Pete coming in and Black Lives Matter. I mean, our lives are evolving and society's evolving. Dino, did you have a question?
Yeah, I was just wondering, since given the topic and the timing, do you know if Pete or Chasten Buttigieg have seen the film?
I hope not. No, I don't think they have, but we haven't. It was a weird thing when Pete was still an active candidate. When we made this, James and I would look at each other and say, we're gonna get arrested. Like this, you're not supposed to say these things. And when Pete withdrew, when he suspended his campaign, we breathed a sigh of relief that we weren't, onto something. And since then, I hope that maybe someday I'll have a chance to show it to them, but I haven't pushed it. Weird thing to break. I had a dream who died.
Get attached to the project. James, how did you get attached to the project?
Eric and I have been close, dear friends for a very long time, and started back in the theater together. So, when I started working in film and television, it was always a big hope for me to bring Eric and his writing and directing into the film and television world. And we found an opportunity to put this film together. And what I've always loved about Eric and his work is it's just excellent storytelling. And what I wanted to do was have an opportunity to kind of take that and figure out the best way to condense it into the short film format, and hope to make the best project possible.
Well, I'll tell you what, I like the acting. I think you came closer to that knock on the door than you thought you would in real life. Let's bring on in all the short actors if we can for a moment, please. Everybody turn your cameras on.
Por favor, prendan sus cámaras.
If you're still alive.
Si están todavía aquí.
We'll go to
More like
gallery
if you're
mode
still
here.
awake, Mark.
Huh?
It's more like if you're still awake.
Yeah, listening to me, I have a tendency to put people to sleep for a while. Do we have everybody in? So let me just say this about everybody here, because the shorts that we select are the best. And we probably watch close to 200 shorts, and we only pick a very select few. So every one of yours was so enjoyable. And making a short film, as far as I'm concerned, talking to so many filmmakers over the years, is, I think, the most difficult project that you can undertake. Maybe more difficult than a feature, because in a feature you can have an hour and a half, give or take, to tell an entire story, where in a short you have to have a beginning, a middle, and an end, and you've got about 10 to 20 minutes to do it. Kudos to all of you. Dino, can you translate that?
Oh, okay. So, él está diciendo que felicitaciones a todos, porque hubo una selección de entre muchísimos cortos, aproximadamente 200, y el hecho de que el de ustedes haya sido seleccionado es importante, y una muestra de lo significativo de tu trabajo, y que lo importante de poder mostrar la historia en un corto es todavía mucho más importante y significativa que en un largometraje. So, that's
Do
pretty
any
much.
of you have any questions for each other?
¿Tienen alguna pregunta, algunos, o anyone else for that matter? So,
I just wanted to say it's excellent to get to know everybody tonight and be a part of this group of amazing filmmakers. Everyone is just outstanding. So it's been a real pleasure to get to hear everybody speak about their work tonight. So thank you, everybody at Outshine.
And I want to say that I think it's very brave of Alejandro to take on that role. That's a very courageous role for him to do that.
Alejandro está diciendo que Jeffrey, de uno de los cortos que están mostrando, que te felicita por haber tomado la iniciativa de tomar este rol, y que mucha suerte y mucho.
Muchas gracias.
Rosibel, you look like I don't know if anybody had told you, but you look like Shakira. Have you ever heard that? Rosibel.
Oh, thank you.
I think she's more beautiful than Shakira.
Oh, thank you to all of you. And thank you to the festival for the opportunity to be selected. It was, a great news for us. It was a reflection of all the work, like a team that we did. It was, fantastic. Thank you so much.
And there's a movie, Alejandro, and to your team, Christian and everybody, called Just Charlie, that the subject matter is very similar. It was what I saw it 3 years ago in Berlin, and it blew me away. It was just fantastic. So all of you should try to find it and watch it, Just Charlie. And to all of you, just thank you so much. It's only because we have a virtual film festival that we can bring together so much great talent. We could never do this. We could never fly everybody into Miami, but through having a virtual festival, we're able to bring, actors and directors and filmmakers and lighting people and sound people and you name it into the thing, and have Jennifer, Dino, and myself to host all of you. So thank you for being here. Everybody, you're going to have at least 4 more days to watch these movies from tonight. So tell your friends, these will be available. Let everybody know, because they were great shorts. You can watch them again and again. Thank you for being here. We have the movies coming up for the rest of the night tonight, as well as tomorrow with our closing night awards party. Oh my God. These shorts are all eligible for closing short, for audience favorite short. So you want to make sure that you voted. And if you didn't, I think you can go back in and vote. That's very important. And we have our closing film, Single Street, Jen, am I right? Single Street?
Yeah.
Yeah, Single Street with the awards party. Everybody can bring a cocktail except Alejandro. And thank you guys so much for being with us tonight for the Outshine Virtual Film Festival Shorts boy shorts too. Take care. Have a great night, everybody. Bye-bye.
And if everyone real
Thank
quick
you.
can pose for a group photo. So if everybody can smile, hold your hands up and do
Okay.
hearts. Show some love. Corazones, corazones. Ready and uno, dos, tres. All right, and smile, seri. One more photo, un photo más. Uno, dos, tres. Gracias para todos.
Gracias. Thank you.
Hasta luego. Bye-bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.